Hello everyone, it's been a while. Let's just have a bit of a different video today. We're going to be discussing Arsenal Football Club and how they progress within the summer. Because obviously at the moment there's a lot of talk about Arsenal and whether they need a forward and if they can do any business within the January transfer window. So we're going to discuss why it might not actually be long-term beneficial for them to do business now, as much as I, as an Arsenal fan, like many of you, will want them to do transfer business this January. So Darmesh is his name, I think, on Sky Sports, did make a very good point. What if Arsenal's targets that they want to get are not available right now? So what if the long-term targets, e.g. Benjamin Sesko, that we've known about, or a player of that ilk, maybe Isaac, something like that, isn't available right now? Are they better off buying a striker just for the sake of having a forward? Or are they alternatively going to be better off just getting in them in the summer, like the main target? Because the wrong signing arguably would have a detrimental effect. If they sign the wrong player who doesn't fit the type of criteria that Arteta wants, doesn't fit in the team, one could disrupt the team morale around the place, and they also could obviously mean that resources have been used up in an area that isn't necessarily needed for the squad. So that has to be taken into account. And I know it's kind of a cop-out answer. I know it's not what Arsenal fans would want to hear, but I'm a big advocate for getting the correct signings. You look at the signings we've done over the past, Ben White, etc. They've all fitted the young profile of people with good mentalities that are apparently got glowing references from a personality standpoint, and they don't really go against the team ethos. They all work for the same goal. And I think it's essential that whoever we bring in does that. So if it's going to be a case of a number just because of a body, I prefer us to get a loan in the door. That said, is there any loans available right now that we can explore? Well, we're kind of hindered because of the fact that Neto is on loan at Arsenal. So it means we can't get any Premier League players in on loan. So we have to go abroad. Now, the alternative to that, you could say, is rescind the Neto loan. I don't know if there's a break clause in that contract, but maybe send him back to Bournemouth, and then we can look at getting a loan in for a forward. But we'll wait and see. I did just want to speak about Arsenal's future, because for Arteta, it's always been, let's work towards the plan. And now we've sort of got to the final stage of that. The team is at a level, in my opinion, that can challenge for major honours. And it's essential to keep on that level. The signings we make now have to elevate us or keep us at this standard. The signings can't drop us. So there's been a lot of talk, obviously, around Jorginho leaving at the end of the season. It looks like Zubimendi's coming to take up that burden, because Jorginho has some great qualities. For example, he is a different type of midfielder. Thomas Partey, who's also expiring, but we'll talk about them both now. So Jorginho likes to link the midfield to the attack by playing balls over the top of defensive lines. He does that quite a lot with Arsenal. Whenever he's on the ball, he likes a little dink over the top. That's terrific. He also likes to keep the passes simple where possible, playing it out to the wide areas. And he's a very fluid attacker. He's quite slow. If you're getting behind Jorginho, I'm sure as Arsenal fans you've seen it, he will not catch up to that player. He's probably the slowest player we own. But he has got a good defensive sense of where to be. He makes quite a few pickups and interceptions just from being there. The issue is if it gets turned past him, he isn't tracking back very well. So he's a volume passer, and he's a good progressive passer in terms of in deep spaces. He's probably the only Arsenal player that can make a controlled dink over the back of a back line in a deep block and get it to where he wants it to be. A lot of Arsenal players try that, like Trossard tries it a lot, and he overcooks his pass. So that means we need to replace that type of midfielder, and it looks like we've gone for Zubimendi to replace him. My bigger concern is the Thomas Partey position. Do I think Miles Lewis-Skelly can fill that void long term? Absolutely, but long term I mean like 2-3 seasons away. In the interim, we're going to need a player who can do the progressive passes on the ground that Thomas Partey does. He doesn't really do it in the air, granted. There's not many switch plays, but he is one of the best in our team when in that central position, playing it through the lines with pace. and getting it to the areas we need to get it to. He's also very defensively secure. He's physically really good, and I'm sure you've always seen his drop of the shoulder. He's got that in his bag too. Thomas Partey is a pretty good midfielder. His legs are going, as we've seen recently, and he was much better when he first came into the club, but he is, like it'll lump it, an extremely solid midfielder in the Premier League, and they don't come around very often. I don't really see that there's many players in world football that have his press resistance and also ability to progress passes through the lines as Thomas Partey, whilst also being physically pretty superior to many opposition. So it'll be interesting the type of midfielder we get in to replace Partey, but that's going to be an area that we do need to look to. I don't think Zubimendi fixes both issues. He does obviously replace Jorginho, and I think what's interesting is I think that Jorginho must be going to Fluminense and not retiring at the club or signing a new extension, which is his opportunity, absolutely. If he wants to stay, then brilliant. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But Zubimendi looks like he's going to be a like-for-like for Jorginho, in my opinion. Probably play some more minutes than Jorginho, but that's the kind of signing I think we brought in. So then you look at Partey, and I don't see a like-for-like within our squad yet. Miles Lewis-Skelly is so raw. Like, he is a great player, and Arsenal fans love him, and I love him, but we've got to give him the freedom to develop. We can't just say, right, the left eight's yours, because it doesn't work like that. We've seen with Nwaneri, we've made space in the squad for him, and he played 2 games and immediately got injured. There's no way that we can confirm that Miles Lewis-Skelly would be able to replicate what he's doing now in the left 8, because they're completely different roles. Like, sure, he gets the freedom to play there, sort of, in our system at the moment, but equally, at the moment, he has more space to do so when you're going from left back to midfield than if you're in midfield with defenders around you all the time. Then you have an attack. We need a striker now or in the summer, preferably now, but the squad has Kai, and Kai Havertz is a very good player, actually, I think. I think the issue isn't that we have Kai Havertz. I think that Kai Havertz being the only option is the issue that Arsenal have at the moment. The dream is obviously Isak, for me anyway, but that's unlikely. I also think Watkins would be absolutely brilliant, or Sesko, but none of these options are available right now, you'd imagine. And this is what I wanted to talk to you about, because if it meant getting a Vlahovic now, who could be a costly mistake, so say we paid 50 for Vlahovic, would you prefer to have him now and him get maybe 8 to 10 goals towards the end of the season, get maybe potentially take that risk, maybe he gets us over the line, there's no guarantees, or would you rather spend 70 to 80 in the summer on Sesko or on Isak if he wants 110 or whatever, which would obviously be a more sensible move? It's about risk versus reward, because no one really wants to deal in the January transfer window, and I think that Arsenal have to stick to their guns in terms of the long-term strategy. They can't just buy people out of panic. So if they are to get someone in the January transfer window, I think it has to be someone that they have targeted for a long period of time. So even if we have to pay 20 million more for Sesko, then I'd much rather us do that than sign, say, Vlahovic, who we might not necessarily want, or sign, say, a striker who's available, who we might not want. So, for example, Kolo Muani, we never were linked with him in recent times. So if we'd have signed him, that would have been a gamble. But if we'd have got him on loan, that would have made more sense. I also think we need a winger either flank. Obviously, with Sterling going, especially in the summer, not necessarily right now. I mean, I'd love 2 forwards in January, but it's not going to happen. The outstanding candidate for that is definitely Williams. But whether he is worth coming in, then whether he'd want to come in is one question. I think he would. But the issue you have with Nico Williams is that his wages are 300k a week. And that is a big issue, whether you like it or lump it. The reason being is big contracts for Arsenal, being Saka, Saliba, Gabriel, Ødegaard, are all having 3 years left. Next season, that'll obviously go to 2 years. So that is the time you need to start negotiating these contracts. Saka rightfully will want to be the highest paid player at Arsenal. Saliba rightfully will want to be close to whatever Saka's on. Ødegaard rightfully is captain. He'll probably want to be on the same as Saka. And Gabriel will rightfully want to be on similar to Saliba, his defensive partner. At the moment, we have it where Saka's on what, 180, 200? We could probably say to Saka, look, we'll give you a pay rise, you can get 250, new contract, make sure your highest paid player, have a highest paid player clause. Then you have Ødegaard. You probably say, look, Saka's on 250, let's give you 230. Maybe Saliba 220 and Gabriel 220. That goes in line then because Havertz is on 225, being a highest paid player. He'd then be on slightly less. But that's fine because he's not their importance to the squad. And then you've obviously got a decent wage structure there. Now, the issue is if you get Nico Williams in and you're paying 300k a week in the summer before you've done Saka's contract, then that means when Saka comes to renewing his contract, he can say, oh, Nico Williams is on 300. He's done nothing for the club compared to me. I want 320. Then Arsenal are in a sticky situation because they give Saka 320, 350, whatever it may be. And then Ødegaard says, oh, I've done loads for the club. I'm the captain. I want to be near Saka. Then you've got 335, and then you've got Saliba on 335, and then you've got Gabriel on 320. And the increase in the wage structure of the club has gone out the window. So I think it's a case of doing it pragmatically. If Saka was on 250, say, 280, whatever, then you could say to Nico, look, we can't give you 300k. We just can't. Saka's the highest paid player. He's done all this for the club. He's well round. You can come to Arsenal, come to the Premier League. We'll give you a healthy sign-on bonus. And if you accept 250, then jobs are good. And that works like that. That's how transfers work because players look at it in terms of the wage structure of the club. So long story short, Nico's who I want, but we need to do the contracts prior to getting him. Otherwise, we need to get in a winger. We need someone who can dribble around a low block, and that is something we need desperately. But yeah, that is my thoughts on Arsenal and the summer signings coming up. Do we do some January signings? I hope so, but again, I don't want it to affect our long-term vision for the club and long-term performance because we are at an elite level right now. There's no doubt about it. We need players fit. We need Saka fit. How do you replace Saka? You just don't. But could we do with someone to bolster the front line? Yes. We can't leave Kai playing all these minutes. He will pick up an injury soon. So it's important that we do get someone through the door. At the moment, I'm thinking that the sensible option for Arsenal must be a loan because otherwise we'd surely bite the bullet and just pay the money for Sesko. Unless Sesko's not the player that Arteta or Arsenal really 100% on. And it is someone else like Isak. But we'll never know. That's not us for the internals to discuss. But let me know what you think in the comments below. Obviously, this has been a little bit shorter. It's also been a bit slower of a video, but I just wanted to discuss some thoughts. So, yeah, please be sure to like and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you next time. Adios.